Hello and welcome to Crimes of the Heart Tarot. I'm Miss Vicki, and I'm going to use the tarot to see if we can gain more insight into unsolved mysteries, deaths, and disappearances. Let's get started. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and thanks for subscribing. Today, I want to do a reading about something I've been hearing rumors about for a long time. The Vietnam War zombies. Now, as everyone knows, the Vietnam War was, I think it started in 1954, 55. We entered the war in 1961 and finally got out of it in 1975. Ever since the ending of the war, there's been lots of rumors about really strange things that the military personnel saw. There are claims that there were reanimated corpses, that they were bulletproof things, people, shadows, dark things in the trees, all kinds of strange stories. Now, a couple basic things. I'm not going to go into the war, why we were there, why we left, all that, except to say the situation for the Marines was pretty drastic. It was a really difficult country to live in. Heat, humidity, and the forests were very thick, very dark, not a lot of sunshine. The Marines were coping with, and the rest of the military, with really alien type situations. Now, there was also a rumor that the U.S. military used the defoliant, Agent Orange, to strip all the leaves from the forest trees. And then they sprayed them with napalm, with flamethrowers. And a lot of people, a lot of military and other people, claim that they did this because it was the only way they could annihilate these bizarre creatures, these bulletproof things that they saw. So I just want to do a basic reading about the situation there. Were these stories true? Let's just see what we get. I'm using the Omega Land cards. They're the closest thing to military type cards I have. All right, let's just lay a few cards down. Now, it was a drastic situation. If you want to know more about the Vietnam War, you can find information about it everywhere. Books, things online, videos. It was terrible. It was drastic. The Marines and the other military were thrown into basically they called it a green hell. Nothing like anyone in the U.S. had ever experienced. And these were young men mostly. And also there were rumors that they had not been well trained. That not that they hadn't been well trained, but they weren't trained quite as long as would have been more advantageous. So let's see what we can find out. Let's get a few more cards. Mix these up really good. All right, I guess what I want to ask cards is the situation around the military, our military in Vietnam during the war. All right, the first card we get is the Six of Swords. Wow, this really shows the bunkers too. There were tunnels all over the place, all under the ground, all over the jungles. And they were basically jungles. They weren't a forest. They were moist, heavy coverage where the sun hardly shined. And the Viet Cong had dug tunnels all under there. And they had men, they had supplies, they had ammo, booby traps. That was one of the things that the military was dealing with. They even had men called, I believe they were called tunnel rats, that went down in there to find the enemy. All right, what else do we have? The Four of Wands. All right, this shows a family in a bunker. Now, the Four of Wands upright is a happy home. It's a celebration, something positive, lots of supplies. In reverse, it's not a happy home. It was not a happy situation at all. All right, the next card is the Page of Wands. This is a young man. Here he is with his weapon going through the fields, his little backpack, kinds of little birds floating around, trash. These were young men in general. I mean, a lot of the commanders and leaders were older, but a lot of the men were very young. They just recently turned 18. Some were even younger. A lot of people, a lot of the military enlisted with their parents' permission. So we're talking about young men. Not a lot of experience, but lots of fire. They went in there. They were going to win the war in a few months, conquer these quote-unquote evil Viet Cong, and this is all just for entertainment purposes only. This is all alleged. I'm not going to get into a debate about the war, but this is how they felt. This is what they were told. They were led to believe that they were going to save the world from these people. And they were very young, very naive. And then we have the Star. All right, the Star is about basically hope, happiness, being in the right place at the right time, making the right decisions. After a few months, I think these men, they ran out of hope. It was a terrible situation. I mean, the mud, if you want to know what it's really like, you can find out. But I just have to say it was a terrible situation for them. They were not prepared for that. And a lot of them lost hope early. They were constantly under attack by people they couldn't see. There was a lot of psychological warfare going on. And it didn't take very long before a lot of the people, a lot of the military kind of got discouraged, kind of lost hope. All right, then we have the Strength card. This is in reverse also. And there were women that served also. This is a woman tying someone up. In reverse, strength is weakness. It is also ego, loss of ego. They knew they were weak after a few, I don't know how long. I mean, we entered the war in 1961, and it was 14 years before, 12 years before we pulled out, 1975. It didn't take long. I'm going to say maybe, I'm just guessing because it depends on each person, possibly 6 months or longer, that the troops realized they weren't invincible, they weren't strong. And I think a lot of regrets, a lot of being afraid of what they were dealing with came into play. Okay, that's the setting for the mindset of these military people. They were in there for the long run, they knew it, and I think they were horrified at what was happening. And I think a lot of them felt stuck, they felt tricked. And there's a lot of people that I'm sure still support us going into Vietnam, but I think if the truth were known, it was a big mistake. So that's kind of the background after, I'm going to say 6 months. I'm not sure how long their tours were, I believe a year, but it could have been different during the war. And then they left, and then some of them came back. But 6 months in a green hell is a long time. All right, so We know they are very discouraged. The truth basically has hit home. But what about these stories? All right, let's see what would contribute to the stories. Were they true? Were they imagination? Were they something else? All right. Let's get a few more. See what we can find out. Were these stories, we'll call them the zombies. They were a variety of different things. And another thing is the Vietnamese people had a lot of strange stories about ghosts and creatures and in their history. So they were hearing that. All right, then we have the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is a very powerful queen. This is someone who tells the truth. This is an honest, straightforward woman. And they did go on leave to cities where they did, I'm going to say, mingle with some of the Vietnamese men and women. And I think they heard a lot of things. I'm not going to go into details about the Queen of Swords, who she could be or what the situation was, but I think people are aware of what they were doing. This is someone who, a very cold woman, basically, not cruel, but just tells the truth, just tells it like it is. This is someone who can also be a manipulator, messing with someone's mind. Like I said, there was a lot of psychological warfare going on with lots of different people. And we have the Eight of Cups. All right, the Eight of Cups upright, it's about working hard, working for what you have. In reverse, it's not working. Trying to survive this. Now, this is where the stories about opium come in. It was very prevalent, and I don't mean this to put down any of these military people that served. I can't imagine what it must have been like for them. But they would go on leave to the cities. I'm not going to name the cities. There were drugs and other things available, and I think they used these to alleviate the fear, the horrifying reality of what they were involved in. And then we have the Ten of Swords. That's an ending card. It did end. It ended badly for the United States. I don't care what the politicians had to say about that. It ended badly. And it was just overkill. It was such a terrible situation, I don't think I could even imagine it. And then we have the world in reverse. All right, the world was turned upside down. They were absolutely in a different world, in a different reality. I do believe drugs were involved. I mean, we know they were. But are these stories true? Seven of Swords. All right, this is someone taking advantage of someone. This is a thief that sneaks in the night. This could be the psychological warfare I was talking about. Taking advantage of these poor military people, giving them drugs. A lot of drugs are available. And honestly, I'm not going to say what they did was wrong. I'm sure it caused a lot of problems in their life when they got back, but they weren't responsible for this war. All right, so I'm seeing a women, rather cold, telling stories. I get stories. I get I can't say that word. Psychological warfare, that's all I can say. Being taken advantage of. And this is in reverse. So basically what it means is being taken advantage of in a really bad way and not being able to get away from it. Probably the only release some of these men had was drugs. All right, I don't see stories. I see a lot of mental stuff going on. Let's see what else we get. And they were treated terribly when they came back. It was so unfair, these Vietnam vets. It was a shame how they were treated, and it was a shame what happened to them over in Vietnam. But what's done is done, and some of them are still suffering. Mentally, physically, and everything else. Some never were able to get over their drug addiction. A few more cards. I want to know about these stories. I'm kind of getting a vibe that the stories were stories. Alright, we have the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands is basically waiting for your ships to come in, waiting to be rescued. I can't imagine what they were going through, physically, mentally. The green hell, that's all I can think of. This is not waiting for your ship. They knew that they weren't going to be rescued. They knew things weren't going to get better. They were there. They were stuck. We have the King of Wands in reverse. The King of Wands this is a powerful person. This could be your leaders. This could be your president. This could be your military in control, in command. King of Wands. King of Wands is fiery. This is someone you would follow into battle no matter what. A really positive man. In reverse, this is somebody that misleads people. This is what was going on, all the way up the chain. There were lies. They were being deceived. Oh man, I'm getting very bummed out about this reading. All right. Then we have the Ace of Coins. All right. The Ace of Coins is the Ace of Pentacles and some other decks. This is the start of positive things. It's the start of getting money. I'm sure a lot of money for things changed hands. The drugs didn't come free. The other things didn't come free. They did get money, the Marines that were serving there. Coins is also mental health. And in reverse, this actually was upright. This is mental health. They were opening up wow, I get opening up a can of worms. This says beef, but they were basically being opened up and manipulated. I don't see ghosts here. I see very, very, very strong stress, physically and mentally. Then we have the Empress. This is abundance. Look, she's picking the little flowers. There was opium and other things, other type drugs. I don't know if I can say the other ones. Everywhere. It was abundance. I mean, it was everywhere. And they were using this to alleviate the pain and the suffering and the mental anguish that they were going through. And we have the Page of Cups. This is a cup of love, a gift. Here we go again. I think they were deceived about the drugs. They were deceived everywhere. Did they defoliate the trees with Agent Orange and then spray napalm on them to kill the monsters? I don't see that. All I see is, I think they probably did that because it was so thick. I mean, you couldn't see. They call it the canopy. You couldn't see if you were flying over. All right, the Six of Wands. This is a celebration, a short victory. I don't know who this would apply to. We were basically told stories about the victory. If there were short-lived victories, they were just overshadowed by the rest of the things going on. This is really I knew this was going to be a downer of a reading, but I wanted to do it. Then we have the Ace of Swords. All right, the Ace of Swords is someone spying, can be a spy. This is someone listening in. It's thoughts. This is just backing up pretty much everything. All right, so what I have is I don't see any ghosts or anything like that. Whatever ghosts there were, they were stories made up to hurt our military, mislead them. The drugs were given almost freely to start. That's how it works, isn't it? They were tricked, they were lied to, they were in despair, but I do not see any truth to these zombie stories. I think it was a result of what they were going through. I want to pull a few oracle cards. I have just a few. I think we have our answer. This is a deep, dark, dangerous oracle. It's kind of cool. It has really interesting backs. I just want to pull a few just to see if there's anything I've missed. I think we have our answer. This was mental breakdowns, mental manipulation, horrifying conditions. And if there were, if zombies or whatever was seen, I think it was a mind manipulation thing from drugs, stress, the horrors of what they were living and going through. I don't see real zombies or anything like that. Alright, let's just see what we get here. Just a few little oracle cards. Alright, the first card is the journey. Alright, it was a journey. It was a journey into, it shows a woman standing there with an apple like Eve. Oh, this is interesting. And I hope you can see this. She's standing in a doorway, but behind the doorway is a ghost. This is a woman, could be Eve with her apple, beckoning you through the doorway, and there's a creature behind it, waiting. That's interesting. All right. Then we have the Minotaur, compassion. Yeah, this is what they were doing. They were tricking the soldiers into thinking they were loving, kind. Not all of them, but a lot of the, I don't know what to call them, the comfort women, I don't know. And men too. They were being tempted by, with an apple. This is Persephone, the journey. And then we have the Minotaur, compassion. They pretended to be compassionate. They pretended to be caring, and all the time they were offering them drugs and stories. All right, one more. All right. Reciprocity. This is Charon. This is the boatman. Well, this isn't true. This is the boatman that takes people to hell. Charon. Reciprocity. I think that's what they were doing. We'll give you this, and we're here for you, and we love you, and we care about you. And I don't know what they did in response to them. They gave them money. I think it was more a matter of tricking, telling them that, you know, we're here for you, you need these drugs. That's what I'm getting. Getting the drugs is really strong, but it was more than drugs. All right, I think we have our answer. Sad as it is. Yeah, I don't see monsters and zombies and things like that, except in people's minds, stories they were told, drugs that were given to them so freely, pretending to be compassionate. All right, that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to close the circle. I'd like to know what you think. And let me know if there's something else you'd like to have me do a reading on. And please subscribe. Got to get over this reading now. I'm going to have to do something positive. Please subscribe, like, share, and watch Afterlife Adventures with Amanda. She's amazing. We'll see you next time. Bye.